the man, the myth, the legend. He's back. What else do you want to say, Chris?
I believe it's 25 titles now. It's hard to keep up. It changes, it seems like, weekly once the tour gets started. And in the rarest of all cases, probably the only person, well, I'm certain, the only person with double digits in titles that actually has more majors than regular tour titles. Yeah, I mean, what do you say? He's the best bowler of his generation, and he's likely to be in the conversation of every generation.
He bowled pretty well on Monday night.
He did.
So, should we bring him in?
Yeah, sure.
G'day, mate.
What's going on, boys? How are you?
Yeah, we're really good. We're looking forward to the action this weekend. You got your 3-game shootout. That's Friday night, right?
Yeah. I don't know what time. I haven't looked at the schedule, but I did hear it was Friday night. So that'll be interesting with the 5 of us on one pair of lanes. It'll be like bowling league, but I haven't bowled league in 10 years. So.
Are you anticipating getting a lot of 5s and stuff with your
No, I'm hoping
boys
it's not like a league for me, because that's like a league for me. Lots of 5s. I actually don't know what to expect with everybody. I don't know. It's a little bit trickier when the 5 of us are going to be on one pair for 3 games, because guys like Tommy and Sean in particular like to break them down properly. So it's going to be interesting to see where they want to start and where they want to finish. And I'm probably just going to do my thing, and they'll complain that I'm ruining the lanes again, and that's all right with me.
Someone says you can have a card game going.
I'm gonna definitely be able to make myself a cuppa in between shots. It's a lot of people got to throw shots before I get to throw my second one.
Okay,
is that a common thing in Australian League? Do you play cards? A card for a mark, 2 for a double.
I actually remember. I remember I did an event here in Dallas actually, and I had to kind of walk through the league and just say hi and everything. And everyone had, not everyone, but a lot of people had a deck of cards on the table. And I really did think, I'm like, man, this is a little insulting to league. Like, it must be so boring for them that they're actually playing cards in between their shots. And then eventually, I'm working it out. I'm like, oh, hold on a second. It's connected here. And I actually really liked it. I tried to bring it home to Orange. I didn't know all the rules, so I made a few of them up myself, and it didn't go so well. And then it kind of died. But I do think I think it's fun to be able to incorporate an extra game within the game of league.
It's great, that game, until one guy gets hot and then he has half the deck of cards, and then, then it's not so fun. And you've got 3 spares through 4 frames, and he's got this many cards, and you've got 2. Yeah. One thing that I would like you to bring to the show is my favorite thing about league is when someone has a 6-bag or something and then they miss, is nice run. That's one of my favorites. Nice run is my favorite league term. So if you could bring
I gotta tell you a story. All right. This is one of my greatest, or not great. I've got a few great Pete Weber stories, but this is one of my funniest Pete Weber stories. So this was in my rookie year. And it was the event that I actually ended up getting to the show in Long Island, right? And Pete was making a run for the show. And he's got the front 8, the dual oil pattern. And, Long Island is, it's a huge bowling little community there. And it was packed, and they're vocal. So Pete gets up in the 9th and throws it terribly. It goes way right, and, he washes out. And some guy in the crowd, yells out, "Nice run, Pete." And Pete looks at him and says, "You shut the hell up." And then another lady goes, "It's okay, Pete. We still love you." And he says, "You can shut the hell up too." And it was the funniest thing I'd ever seen, because I'd never seen the Pete Weber before live. And I'm like, he's just yelling at people cheering for him. But then I came to realize, yeah, it's the nice run. It doesn't sit well with us after we throw that bad one.
Nice run's my favorite. So what
Billy knows about nice run.
Yeah.
Yeah. We had Team USA camp one year. It was Tommy and Patrick and Wes Malott and myself and Billy. And so we have team names. You know, everybody's got a name. We're both these little 5-in thing. It's just POY, 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 POY. Nice run. Billy was like second or third, like 3 years in a row, right through there.
But didn't we bowled the team event on tour, and there was Tommy, Wes, me, you, and Billy, and didn't we say something like 4 POYs and a Rookie of the Year or something? Like that? He wasn't too impressed.
I still remember Bill yelling at you guys because you guys all had 10 titles, and then he took an extra re-rack, and he goes, "They just want to stop me getting in the Hall of Fame."
That was a big mistake. Yeah, I blame Wes for that.
So,
yes,
a couple of questions. So, you when you come over, you obviously come over with your shoes and your spare ball, and very few others. How do you go about? Because people love asking Arsenal questions. How do you go about, you know, getting your starting set? Because obviously you've got to have a base to start with. What's your do you have a method for it, or how's it go?
Yeah, well, usually there's quite a large gap between when I was on tour and when I come back to tour, because we finish, you know, depending on those little side events later in the year, but typically we finish early in the year. So I leave, you know, 6 balls on the truck or whatever it is, and then I take a photo of them, and then, you know, usually a couple of weeks before I head over, Jimmy Callahan will give me a buzz and say, "Hey, you know, do you like anything? Do you need anything?" And then I go back to my picture and look what I've got on the truck, send it to him and go, "What's new?" For the most part, I don't throw too much of the new stuff back home. It's usually quite a pain for our distributor to get it in and ship it to me. And so I tend to, I mean, unless it's a ball I really, really want. So I don't get them all, and it can be a little tricky when you're trying to build an arsenal for tour, because you're like, well, I haven't thrown anything. Point in case, the Nova and Spectre, I haven't thrown them yet.
Yeah.
And it's like, do I drill them? I don't know. I've never thrown them. Should I drill them? And then you kind of go off, you know, people like yourselves and your tour reps to say, hey, listen, this one's pretty good. You might want to throw this. I can see this fitting in this slot. So then you're like, okay, well, I'll throw a few unknowns into the arsenal because, well, I trust the people that are talking to me about it. And then I usually fill up the other gaps with balls that I trust, that I've used, that, you know, I've had success with in certain buildings or whatever. So it can be a little bit tricky when you go somewhere new, because you're like, well, I have no idea what the surface is like. I have no idea what the ping carry is like or the characteristics of the house. And I kind of got a little bit lucky, to be honest, here in Los Angeles, because on the truck I'd left, and they shipped some bowling balls to Los Angeles for me. And they were all really strong covers and big weight blocks, even though they were symmetrical, but they were big. A lot of realities, right? And idols. And when I turned up, the place was super old friction style building. Like, there was just so much built-in hook. I couldn't use any of them. I tried, and it was no good. So Alex Hoskins had suggested that I throw a Wolverine and an RSTX2.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, well, I'd never thrown either of those balls either. So I'm like, yeah, okay, well, let's put them in the arsenal. And if, you know, maybe I was thinking more like, you know, later on in the block and Chameleon, maybe if I need to open them up, this could be a good ball. I can transition from like a Trend 2 or something like that in the middle. And it turned out, yeah, right. Well, it turned out I needed to use those 2 balls exclusively once I got left of 20. Like, it just, nothing else would push, nothing. Mm-hmm. And I got a little bit fortunate because I'd never thrown them. Alex said, no, they're pretty good. You should throw them. So I'm like, all right, well, let's add them. And that was kind of my 3-ball arsenal, was literally spare ball, X2, and Wolverine. I used a little bit of the Zen Master on the Dragon late in the block because I was just tired of seeing my ball hit like a little bit of friction down lane and go left. But yeah, for the most part, it was just those 3 bowling balls.
Okay. So with the TV show, you used the pitch black on the right lane the whole time. We saw you get a couple of fill shots in when your matches were done. What was your next ball? Was that going to be the Wolverine on that lane?
That was what I used in LA and I bowled really well with it and struck a lot with it. So I had a little bit of faith in that ball. Obviously, different surface and the lanes are definitely playing a whole lot more push in the fronts and in the mids than what I had seen in LA. So we started with the Wolverine just to see. I threw a couple of pretty good shots. I think I left like a ripper 7 and then like a flat 10. And it was just probably a little too quick for me off the spot because that reaction is, yeah, you've got to go pretty dead flush to get that perfect roll through the pin. So I changed to an X2 in one of the shots and it just blended it a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
My only fear was not bowling in that center after a few games with urethane down there is I didn't want them to be too clean. So we did have a trend too, kind of in the wings as, you know, if I bowl against Jacob, I was going to probably throw the X2 to be honest. And if that was a little too clean, I would have just had to make a blind guess and find something that just picked up that little bit sooner so I didn't get behind it. But didn't need them in the end. I said to Sean, look, as soon as this ball stops striking, I'll put it away. Like, you know, if it misses twice in a row, it's done. It just never missed twice in a row. So I just kept using it.